Now that we're done with the first two fieldworks which tackled pacing and taping activities, we will now proceed to calculating the area of polygonal fields using tape for our fieldwork number 3. In our geometry classes, we learned to compute the basic areas as well as perimeters of certain shapes with various sizes. But you might wonder, how can we calculate for the area of a piece of land which is irregular in shape? A shape that we're not so familiar with. That is what we're going to discuss in this fieldwork exercise. First, let's determine the objective and the materials to be used for this exercise. The procedures for this exercise contain 3 methods that can be used to determine the area of a polygonal field. Let's discuss them one by one. First is area determination by base and altitude. The instructor will give 5 points on the field labeled as A, B, C, D, and E that will be marked using marking pins or chalk. Connecting all of these points with a line will give us a shape, a 5-sided polygon. Now, what we have to do is to divide it into 3 triangles. This method is the most basic one because it applies our most common knowledge of determining the area of a triangle. That is by getting the product of the base and the height or altitude and dividing it by 2. With that, we will apply the same principle. Let us determine the length of the bases of these 3 triangles as well as their altitudes and input these values in the table provided. Now, we'll just have to substitute these values in the formula, then we'll get the area of each of these triangles. To determine the area of the whole polygon, just simply add all of these areas together. For method number 2, area determination by 2 sides and an included angle. The same points will be used as method number 1, but this time, label the points as F, G, H, I, and J. Connect the points, and you have a 5-sided polygon. Now, divide it again into 3 triangles, and maybe try a different division this time so we can confirm if the computed area will be the same. For this method, pick any chosen triangle and just simply determine the length of any 2 adjacent sides, and also the angle between these 2 sides. Repeat this process for the remaining triangles. Input all measurements in the table and calculate for the area using this formula. Just like the previous method, to get the total area, just simply get the summation of all area calculated. Lastly, for the third and final method, area determination by Heron's formula. The same points will be used but will be designated as K, L, M, N, and O. Connect the points to form a shape and divide it into 3 triangles. Now, start with any of these 3 triangles. Measure all of its 3 sides and label this as side A, side B, and side C. Write it down because we're going to need it later. Then, compute for its semi-perimeter, that is by getting the perimeter and dividing it by 2. Label it as S. The next part will be a bit easy because we'll just have to simply substitute these values we have in the formula. Repeat this process to the remaining two triangles and get the sum of the computed areas to determine the total area of the polygon. We have now successfully discussed and explained the three methods that we can use to determine the area of a given field or land that is irregular in shape. We hope that you have learned something from this video, and thank you so much for staying in tune.